What's up, everybody? It's Jeff White Fitness Solutions. Thanks for checking out this video. And I found something really interesting, very interesting. It is about the FedNow. While we were focused on these banks collapsing and bank runs and all of that good stuff, the Federal Reserve, announces the July launch of the FedNow Service, which is instant payments 24/7. It's going to launch in July. Did you hear about this? I thought this was really interesting, so let's check it out. And leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. And please like and subscribe to the channel because I love talking about things that don't make the mainstream news. So look at this. Okay, so this press release is actually from the Federal Reserve website, and I'm going to include the link. It came out on March 15th, and today is March 16th, Thursday, March 16th. So it says here, the Federal Reserve announced that the FedNow service will start operating in July and provide details on preparations for launch. Then it goes on to say, the Federal Reserve banks are developing the FedNow service to facilitate nationwide reach of instant payment services by financial institutions, regardless of size or geographic location, around the clock, every day of the year. Through financial institutions participating in the FedNow service, businesses and individuals will be able to send and receive instant payments at any time of day, and recipients will have full access to funds immediately, giving them greater flexibility to manage their money and make time-sensitive payments. Access will be provided through the Federal Reserve's FedLine network, which serves more than 10,000 financial institutions directly or through their agents. So how does that sound to you? Does that sound good? I don't know. I just don't know. So I'll let you decide. But I want you to check out this next slide and let's see what's really going on. So check this out. So I decided to dig a little deeper and look at some of their rules and procedures. And one thing I really wanted to see was how they're going to handle fraud or perceived fraud. So here is some information here that I want you to really read it a couple times on your own, but I'm going to read it out loud here. The Fed plans to roll out additional anti-fraud measures in 2024 and beyond. One feature under consideration, for example, would enable financial institutions to activate a control setting that rejects payments that exhibit unusual frequency patterns or cumulative value over a period of time. This could address fraudsters' efforts to work around transaction limits by originating large numbers of low-value payments in a short window. Later potential features could provide the ability to fine-tune controls for different types of customers and screen non-value messages, such as requests to send payments to potential bad actors. Other updates under consideration will leverage the FedNow Service network to monitor for aggregated concentrations of inbound and outbound activity, a sign of potential mule activity, and use machine learning to score transactions. Man, I don't even know how to tell you that you're the fraud. You are the fraud. You are going to be monitored. You can be a model citizen, they're going to monitor you. And if you buy something they don't like, or you keep buying certain things, they will put a stop to it. They're monitoring you, people. They're monitoring. They are watching your every freaking transaction. Is that what you want? Is that what you really, really want? Are you comfortable with that? Now, I know some people are going to say, well, I don't do anything wrong. I'm fine with it. No, that's not the point. The point is they're going to be monitoring you and eventually limiting exactly what you buy. They can limit. Okay, look at it like this. How many people have tried to withdraw a large amount of money out of their banks right now and they're getting a runaround? and they're having a very hard time withdrawing that money, this here, boom, they will stop you in your tracks, and there's nothing you can do about it. Y'all, this. I'm not feeling this at all, not at all. Okay, so this is a very fluid situation right now with the banks, and I'm calling this big bank take little bank. And basically, what's going on right now is we're seeing some bank runs, and we're seeing some banks failing. And what people are doing is to protect themselves, they're withdrawing money out of the smaller regional banks and depositing into the big, larger banks. They think that's going to help protect them. Well, in my personal opinion, based on this FedNow story, all they're doing is they're putting themselves in a situation where they will have no choice but to be included in this FedNow program, and their money will be monitored even more. Now, I'm going to go on a little tangent here. Let me know what you guys think about this. And I talked about this in a YouTube short too. But we've seen small businesses get squeezed during the pandemic. We have seen small landlords get squeezed because they could not receive any rent from their tenants during the rent moratorium. And we saw large financial institutions snap up single family homes, and they would pay cash for them all over the country. And I believe they're still doing it too. And what else did we see? We're seeing small farmers struggle because fertilizer prices are increasing. There's a lot of flack about growing cattle around the world, and they're really trying to put the pressure on some of these people to grow cattle and make farming life difficult. And so now we are seeing these banks, these small regional banks. Um, we're seeing potential bank runs, problems with these banks. Now, don't get me wrong; these banks are taking some risks that are coming back to haunt them because of those low interest rates. But that's a whole nother topic. But anyway, I see small businesses, small people getting squeezed, and these large corporations and institutions are slowly taking more control. And the more control they have, the less control we have over our own lives. So this is a very fluid situation. I'm just sitting back and watching, and I'm trying to observe and look at the big picture. But the big picture I see is not pretty. I see large institutions taking more control over individuals' lives. So what do you think about that, people? So basically, y'all, this is just setting us up for that central bank digital currency. And again, the more control that they can have over people. Now, we do you remember what PayPal did or what they wanted to do with the fines that they wanted to institute? And people had an uproar, and I believe they canceled it. I'm not sure. Remember the Canadian truckers and what they did to the truckers when they had the protests, and they cut off their access to their funds. It don't take Stevie Wonder to see that that's exactly what's going to happen with this Fed now. And they try to make it sound all pretty and glamorous, but you got to read the fine print, people. Not only do you got to read the fine print, but you got to take a look at the big picture and ask yourself, what institution created by the powers that be has been a success? Well, let's put it this way. What three-letter government entity can you look at and say that is the shining example of how things should be? It is working perfectly. It has been great for society. Name some three-letter organizations, and what do you think? Let's see. We have WEF, we have WHO, we have IMF, we have um, FBI, CIA. How many HUD? Name one that you think is doing good. I can't think of any. I can't think of any government institution that has been a resounding success. So, based on past experience, past performance, I won't guarantee that this won't be any good either, but I'm not having any good faith in this. So, anyway, action steps. we can talk about the problem, but we got to find ways to help protect ourselves. And it comes back to the same things for me every single time. We gotta become more self-sufficient. We got to become more self-sufficient. We cannot rely on the powers that be to help us or save us or make our lives better. I don't know if they can. So anyway, decrease your consumer debt. I'm talking about those credit cards. We have to decrease as much as we can because, as you can see, people are leaving the smaller banks and going to the bigger banks. And I believe that they can decrease your credit limits. They can limit what you can buy with those credit cards, and they're going to make people's lives miserable. It's just not going to be pretty. They're going to raise interest rates on those. The payments that you have to make, they may even make it harder for you to even get a credit card going forward. Next, stock up on items you need and use, and that could be almost anything. That could be clothes for your kids in bigger sizes. That's the food. That's stocking up on food. That's stocking up on seeds. Buying dirt, planting a garden, energy sources, toiletries. Stock up on stuff you need and use because we don't know if they may come out and say, well, you can't keep buying all this stuff because we have to ration it. That's another thing. What if they start rationing until you can only buy X amount of certain things and they limit how much you can buy of pick a product, any product. Next, keep physical cash. That goes without saying because we could still have power outages. They got all these grandiose ideas, but if we have a power outage, because the mother weffers did say that we could have power outages one day, and if we do, then guess what? None of this is going to work. So you got to have some cash. Next, on physical gold and silver. I don't know how else to, keep talking about this, but it's not discussed in the West. Mainstream media doesn't talk about gold, but a lot of countries and people in the East, they own gold, they own silver. That is a standard for them. And gold and silver has been used as money for thousands of years. Central banks are buying gold by the ton. We need something to protect ourselves. And last, but certainly not least, have various forms of security. Now, I know I live in America. We have the Second Amendment where you have the right to bear arms, but I personally believe having other forms of security is just as important because if you live in a house with kids, you may not want those certain types of security around the house. It's good to have it, of course, but you may want to have other things too. And the other day I talked about, little things like this here. This is a nice little tool to have. You can use it anywhere, anytime, anywhere, and it packs a nice little punch. But you also want to have other things too, and you want to have even like little noise makers, little something like this. So take a look at this here. Check this out. So people don't want to be around a lot of noise when they doing their dirt. So this little thing has like a little light on it, and then when you pull the plug, guess what? You hear that? It's pretty loud. It's loud. Be creative, people. Do what you gotta do to protect yourself because the world is going mad, and people will be losing their minds. And you want to make sure that you are able to protect yourself every single way you can. So let's talk about this, people. I think they tried to sneak this by us while we were focused on the bank runs, but you got to pay attention, people. There's too much going on behind the scenes that is going to affect your life in ways that you probably would never have imagined. So now's the time to start preparing. It's more important than ever if you haven't started yet. But do what you have to do, people, because the world is changing, and I don't think it's going back to the way it used to be.